All right.
You know,
Call the meeting
like one of
to
those
order
film
again.
bloopers where you moved in the middle of two scenes.
All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Ferrer.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Here.
Michael Astaphan,
Excused.
excused. Albert Hayes.
Here.
Thomas Stover.
Here.
Mark Finkel.
Here.
Michael Clark.
Here.
Robert Leslie.
Here.
Robert Fulton.
Here.
John Hodgson.
Here.
Carol Wright. Richard Ferrari. Here. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion to adopt or revise the meeting agenda. Any revisions?
Make that motion to adopt.
Mr. Hayes.
Have a motion to adopt?
Mr. Stover.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. I have no guests at this time. Public comment period.
You've already heard
We
from
have-
Gary Staub.
We've heard from Mr. Staub. Does anyone like to comment from staff or board?
I certainly could, sure.
Okay, there we go.
I just had a couple questions. Has the village done anything to repair some of the damage as a result of the high water and hurricane last year and what's causing their uncontrolled release of water?
I don't. They did a great job of
Salvaging?
salvaging what they could out of the effect of what the early spring flood did to the Abenaki Dam. As of today, as far as I know, there's an understanding perhaps that the dam does have an issue, and how that's going to be resolved, I'm not necessarily sure, because it can't be done until later on in the fall, when you're going to have to pretty much drain Abenaki to try to fix
Right.
the dam to go down all the way.
Yeah.
The dam operates a big, heavy plate that operates on a motor with gears that kind of lift it up in a situation. It's got to go pretty much on an even keel. If it goes one way like this, it binds, and life is terrible. Strips the gears, which has happened on us a few times. But what's happened is it cannot go down all the way, because they think at the bottom where the track is, it might be a little, either it's coming in or it's caught one way or the other. I'm not sure, no one really knows. But if it goes down too far, it wedges and it's done. So they've been bringing it to a point which is about a foot or so more, maybe a little more,
Wow.
above where the spillway would be. The bottom of the dam used to have a rubber gasket that would make a good seal. And there was leakage, but very minimal, very minimal. Now, there's an extra foot plus of water coming out. What that CFS equates to, I'm not sure.
Right.
You know, but I would think that
Sounds like.
the releases for the last week or so, since we got up high, have been,
Adequate.
adequate. Have been phenomenal, But because it's helped us out a lot, and it's kind of blinded the fact that the dam was having problems. But as your need to reduce those,
Well, we won't be able to sustain those.
yeah,
So
exactly.
the village is clearly, they clearly have to
They have to
repair
address
their
that issue.
facility, because we only have a certain amount of water that we could release
Right.
and not start to sacrifice elevation at Indian Lake. So
Right.
we won't be able to compensate for what sounds like
Right.
an
So-
excessive amount of water leaving Abenaki that needs to be addressed.
By the town, and we understand that, but I just,
I mean, there will be dry days come July and August where we're going to cut way back as we have historically.
right.
And it doesn't sound like it's going to be a sufficient amount of water to maintain Abenaki with the uncontrolled release. So they've got some serious problems down there they need to attend to.
Yeah, oh, well, we were at a town board meeting last night as well. It's just that in the big scheme of it, Indian Lake operation is part of what happens in Abenaki, and Abenaki's operation affects us and the people that utilize the Hudson River for recreation in summertime, this year. And it just seems that this year is the non-perfect year, so to speak. And that's
Right.
You know,
Short of getting into the physical problem that exists and the
Yeah.
lack of maintenance apparently on the structure. So,
Well, whatever goes along with that,
I mean, you have to maintain the structure. If you
Right,
have a
yeah.
spillway and a gated structure that doesn't function right, and you rely on it to keep the water in as well as release it, and you don't maintain that, then that's a problem.
It's very problematic, but it was my intention just to bring to the board's understanding how their operation may affect people that they're not even aware of.
Sure.
Does it make any sense for us or you as the engineer to follow up with the town of Indian Lake to see what their...
I could. I mean, I was just speaking about the call that I had with the village right after the hurricanes came through, right as they described their situation to me, and yeah, they knew they needed to attend to it, and they had a pretty serious problem then. And I could certainly give them a call again just to see how they're doing.
Prod them a little bit.
related here, which
You know,
I think is his point.
Because they're certainly not. I mean, I think it's the sewer department, water sewer department, water department.
Right.
So,
You know, and, it's, I don't think it would be all that much of a concern on our part if the dam was being able to be shut
Sure.
right away, and it's the general operating scheme of the districts for Indian Lake has been just fine, you know. I mean, what you've done to help to meet your requirements has been fine with us, all right? We've also asked in the past for a little help here and there, and you've been more than willing, more than capable of saying, we can help you out, we will help you out, but we've got to maintain our position foremost, you know, and we totally understand that. But this year, like I said, we've got a little hitch in the whole process.
well, I can give them a call and see how they're, like I said, see how they're doing.
See if we can prod them a little bit.
Try to.
And just to bring another point, I don't want to keep going on it, the communication factor, there always seems to be something that we hear, you know, Bob talks to the dam operator a lot, I talk to him a lot, and I understand when a phone call is made, it gets to an answering machine, well, that dam operator doesn't necessarily get to that answering machine in a timely manner, and there have been times where their operation of the dam not coincided with an understanding that you were cutting back a little bit perhaps, and it's been left open more than it should have. And, you know, water doesn't stay still, it has some way when it's a chance to move, it moves.
Oh yeah.
And that Abenaki goes boom, real quick. You know? So, and I think that if there's anything that we could do, you know, as outfitters and as people relying on that, you know, we're a resource. I've been there since 1980. You know, any kind of help, more than willing to raise a hand and help out.
Right.
I don't know if
Just briefly, my name's Bob Rafferty, own and operate Adirondack Rafting Company. I have the pleasure of being president of the Hudson River Professional Outfitters Association. We have 11 companies that operate on the Hudson River Gorge, and we run roughly 25,000 guests per year through the gorge. So it's a very valuable piece of the Adirondack community economically. I really don't have much to add on what Gary's covered it very well. The bottom line really, as far as levels and how that concerns us, it's obviously a more moderate approach works best for us. Extreme fluctuations are harder to work with, and as Gary pointed out with the town's unique situation this year, ideally the moderate drawdown, if you can reach your same target elevations in a more moderate fashion, it works in our favor. It's much healthier for our program overall. You did a remarkable job getting the water back in April. I was amazed that you got your target elevation. We do spend way too much time watching our little charts, and we should be on the river more often than looking at our charts and your elevations, your targets, and your flows. So we don't profess to be by any means experts in what you do. But the the moderate approach certainly works best for us as far as the drawdowns go. That's really all I have, Barry covered it basically. Just one other item, the town's dam, we have been discussing with the town. It was built in '51. It's by no means a well-built dam. It served its purpose, but the town is now in the process of addressing what to do about rebuilding the entire structure. Where the funding comes from, I have not a clue. So it's a massive project. I think the town has carefully avoided for a long time, but it will eventually show its face.
Time to dance.
I don't think the dam was designed for the operation of recreational activities like it is. And it's worked pretty well for 30 years, but it's had its flaws here and there. So,
Sounds like it needs some TLC.
it needs a TLC, no doubt about it.
Well, I appreciate your time.
No, thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I have any questions, I know where to get hold of Gary. All right. Now, I need approval of are there any questions or revisions to the minutes from May 8th?
No.
Because I need a motion to adopt the minutes from May 8th.
Also move. Mr. Stover.
I need a second?
Second.
Mr. Fink.
Mr. Pink. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. I'd like to go into executive session. You want to do it before you report, Mark?
That's fine, Mr. Chairman.
All right, let's go into for personnel and litigation matters. And I'd like to include Mr. Farrar, Rob, and Mike. And we'll come back in for the,
Do we want to?
hang on a second.
Okay, I was going to say, I'll stay here. And
I think we'll stay here and
Okay, and he can just leave from, good.
let you guys enjoy the
You can
downtown.
put that on pause,
Okay.
right?
and let
Enjoyed it
you,
last night.
yeah? Back in? He's ready. Okay. All right, so we're back from executive session. Let me turn it over to you. You can explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board will find my report beginning on page 95. Suffice it to say that since the last board meeting, it has, the focus of the executive director has been almost exclusively on Hudson River apportionment and dealing with the decision of the appellate court, third department. And we are still in the midst of that process, but we're well on our way, as I have mentioned earlier in the meeting. And I would hope to, again, bring a Hudson River apportionment to the board next month in July. Also, and as there are two resolutions that we have discussed, draft or proposed resolutions that I discussed with the board members in executive session. The first resolution that before you, and I recommend that the board consider, is the rescinding of the salary adjustment for management exempt employees. That resolution that I'm asking be rescinded was from April 2012. And it is before the board now. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Do we have any discussion on?
No, so we have to make the motion, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's get out of the table. I'll make the motion for rescinding.
All right, I have a motion to rescind that.
Mr. Finkel, first.
Do I have a second?
Second. Mr. Stover.
All right, is there any other discussion?
Well, yeah, I'd simply like the record to say that, the board acted on the merits of the increase. The staff certainly deserves it after 4 or 5 years of no raise, but because of budgetary considerations, we have to do what we have to do. But it certainly wasn't on lack of merit for the.
Absolutely not.
No.
No, we appreciate what they're doing. All right, so I have a motion and second. Any other discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And, Mr. Chairman, the second resolution, the proposed resolution before the board was also discussed in executive session, and that is to recall a field assistant to the Sacandaga Field Office per recall agreement from May of 2010, I believe, during the during the significant layoff that occurred at that time. And that resolution is specifically to recall Stephanie Rizicki at the rate she was making at that time. In accordance with the recall agreement between the regulating district and the CSEA local, I would like the record to note, and also for the board's and staff's benefit, note that this results in no increase in personnel. Quite simply, the regulating district has lost its land surveyor earlier this year, or 2 or 3 months ago, and although it's a different job description, he's still field capable, and in the previous 2 years since that massive layoff, the land surveyor had assisted significantly with field duties around Great Sacandaga Lake. Without him being there, the Hudson River administrator is critically undermanned at the Sacandaga field office, and to not replace a field assistant or call back a field assistant would potentially jeopardize the timely performance of the field duties and the operations on Great Sacandaga Lake, whether those are reservoir operations or related to the access permit system. And any questions that you have, again, be happy.
Any questions? I'd entertain any comments from the Hudson River area administrator, if he has any.
Well, like I've explained before, is that the duties and the responsibilities that we have at Hudson River office have not changed at all. We still have everything that we had before the layoffs. So the responsibilities are still there. The only thing I lost is staff. So we still have the duties that we had before, and
And you're
I could use
getting into your busy season?
and we're getting into the busy season, yes. So,
Okay. So, all right, any other questions, comments? Again, we're just recalling and replacing a staff member whose staff position has been vacated.
Do we need a resolution for that?
Yes, we do. Resolution
Okay.
to recall Stephanie Rizicki as a field assistant to the Hudson River area of the Hudson River Black River Regulating District. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
All right. Need a second? Mr. Hayes, Mr. Stover. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Anything else, Mike?
No, I'd be happy to take any questions that the board has. My report is before you all, and again, it's been almost entirely focused on Hudson River apportionment issues.
No, I don't have any other questions. I do want to bring up that there was no business that was conducted other than discussions in the executive session. All right. So on to the contracts. The resolution to approve the 7th Amendment to Contract C 082006. Mr. Leslie.
Mr. Chair, this is a perfunctory extension of the agreement with Brookfield Burchett, who handle the litigation brought by Albany Engineering Corp. Resulting in the U.S. Court of Appeals decision, the fallout from that decision, and most specifically the that which escapes me. On the top of my head, I just can't think of it.
Is this the refund?
No, it's not the refund case. It's the
The original?
determination of the what is the word I'm looking for? Amounts due from the hydropower companies to the district.
Oh.
And water benefit.
Headwater benefits determination.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. It just escaped me. In any case, this contract is about to expire. We're looking for I believe it's a 2-year extension. My memo with regard to that is on page 97, followed by
Didn't
the
look at that.
proposed resolution on page 99,
Correct. Extension through June 30th, 2014.
2014. I'd recommend the board pass the resolution.
Okay, this is from 2006 originally?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so it says in the resolution. All right, any discussion? Do I have a motion to amend the contract?
Mr. Stoll.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
The second.
Mr. Hayes.
Okay. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved, extend the contract. Next, I have a resolution to approve the insurance proposal, pool insurance proposal from July 1st, 2012 to June 30th, 2013. Mr. Farrar. It would be you. I assume that's the handout here.
I'll first point out that Mr. Clark is not the acting CBED. It's an oversight on my part. I apologize. I used last year's memo.
Oh, okay.
On page 103 is my memo. Again, commercial insurance coverage is set to expire at the end of the year, this fiscal year, June 30th, 2012. And in this resolution, I'm recommending the board approve an additional option year coverage by Cool Insuring. And I did provide, just received from Cool Insuring, and that is the document for you. It's about 33 pages. The proposed insurance is the exact same coverage.
Mhm.
The coverage is the same. And the very last page, I believe, yes, on page 32 details the premium cost by coverage. The primary coverage is in 2 areas. One is the governmental package program, property, the inland marine, crime, general liability, automobile, $74,000 and change, and then the umbrella is $76,000. The total of these premiums comes to $170,127.97. The resolution reads to approve a not to exceed up to that amount. It's possible under Ocean Marine, which is the workboat, which has been
Right.
out of the water.
In dry dock.
In dry dock, we did reduce the insurance to this premium last year. I would probably recommend that we retain that minimal insurance, even though it's not in the water, in the event that lightning strikes it or something.
We don't plan on ever using it again, do we?
That's-
Certainly does not look
John?
to be in the plan.
I don't foresee putting that back in the water.
But I think either way, as long as it's on the property, I think it would be
Yeah, well, as long as we own it.
appropriate to.
We should put some sort of coverage on it.
Well, let's put it this way. If it was ever to go back in the water, it would require a significant change in propulsion and steering system.
And no bites on eBay for it?
Nada.
Okay.
So the resolution is on page 104, and I just added to the last, now therefore be it resolved, that the annual premium not exceed the amount of $170, $127.97.
Okay, so a resolution to approve the Cool Insurance Agency insurance proposal for July 1st through June 30th, 2013.
So moved.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Finkel.
And second, Mr. Hayes?
Mr. Hayes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So we have insurance, even on the boat. All right, and the resolution to approve the renewal of the USGS contract. Mr. Fulton, would you like to explain that one to me?
I could. Actually, I just gave the contract back to
Yeah, I have the contract.
Rick.
here. There were actually
But-
two copies.
Synopsis is good.
There's no change in terms of services provided to the district. It's for the operation of the gauges, to post the data that's collected from the gauges.
This is the email, so it does give you
And,
the breakdown between us.
That's the only number I needed. Yeah, I didn't have that. As well as river gauges, as well as reservoir gauges, which we clearly need to, and statutorily are required to maintain records of in some form or fashion, and we have done that via the USGS for a number of decades, I think. The only change, as has been the trend for the last probably maybe even as long as I've been in the district, 12, 13 years now, the total cost of operation, which is divided between the regulating district and USGS, for those specific gauges which we need to have maintained, has gone up, and our percentage share has gone up. And so this year, out of the $530,000 total 3-year cost, the district is being asked to pay $336,938.
How much of an increase is that from last year?
It was 317 and change.
You had
So that's
7%,
about- I think
so
it's
7% change.
20-something.
So it's a shift, 7% of the total cost, more toward our responsibility.
Again, I didn't know how much the total went up, so
Yeah,
I'm only
that-
looking at what our
Right.
piece went from
And that's been,
317.
I think that's been the case in 3 to 5,
Jesus,
6%
19,000?
more contribution from us every year, every 3 years, sorry.
Every 3 years.
3 years.
Correct.
And, obviously, less that the federal government is contributing toward the maintenance and operation of those, so.
Oh, yeah,
And this would be for the 3-year period, of course.
FERC did a dandy job with that.
Let's proceed.
Okay. All right, so you need an approval to, resolution, I need an approval or a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the renewal of the agreement with the USGS. Any comers?
Mr. Stover.
Okay. Do I have a second?
No.
Okay,
Mr. Fink.
thank you. I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sort of. No,
I
unanimous.
was at this meeting.
Thank you. Okay, let's go through the committee reports. Audit Committee.
Yes, we met, but I just lost my note here. Give me a second.
Take your time.
We met and we are, get back to the, excuse me. We met this morning and released for the entire board to consider approval of an amendment to the audit services to the Bonadeo Group. And I would propose that to the full board.
All right, so it's been recommended to the full board that we amendment number 4 to the Bonadeo Group's audit services agreement contract.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion?
I would just
Oh,
make one
I'm sorry.
amendment again. I used last year's resolution, and at that time the director was acting. So
Okay.
now therefore be it resolved, the board of the regulating district hereby authorizes the executive director of
Okay.
and the amount, and the not to exceed amount of $17,500.
Okay. All right. So, with those changes, I need a motion to accept the amendment to the audit services agreement.
Can I make that as
Yeah.
chairman? I make that.
Oh, no, this is to the full board.
Full board.
Okay.
That's up in front of the full board.
I will make that.
I have a motion. Mr. Stover, second. All right, motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the Finance Committee report.
Finance Committee met this morning, and we had the third reading of our proposed budget for the next 3 years. And we had a motion to advance to the full board and recommend adoption of the budget through July 1st, 2012 to June 30, 2015. And we also had a motion to advance to the full board and recommend adoption of the July 1st, pardon me, 2012 through June 30 Black River assessment.
All right, let's start with the,
Mr. Chairman?
yeah, go
I
ahead.
would, prior to the
Two
approval of either resolution, I would just go through my presentation
Okay.
very quickly, and then
Very nice.
we can go to the, and I will.
Okay.
This is a presentation that the board
What are we going?
sort of drafted this back in the May committee meeting, and if I could do this, blocking. Excuse me, let's get this powered up again. Yeah, it won't work. And I think once it does that, resync.
Okay. You're right.
If this doesn't work, I'll.
Tap dance?
That ought to be fun.
Oh my God.
There we go.
It still looks like it's suffering. Okay, here we go. It's warming up. Stop me if I'm going too quickly, but I'm going to go
problem.
through it quickly because you've already seen it. So, 3-year budget, Hudson River Black River Regulating District, our corporate structure, as it's always been, is the two watershed areas, Hudson River Black River and the general board. This is the organization chart for the district, and the left side is the Black River area. The right side, sweeping under, is the Hudson River area. Top is the board, and in the middle, below the board, is the general board staff supporting the entire district. The cost of the middle is borne in proportion of the total budget by the Black and the Hudson. The board derives its authority to actually budget, out of its ECO in 15, 21, 25. I will not read it. The board.
Fully familiar.
Say again?
The board is
The
fully
board is
familiar
very
with those
familiar.
sections.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, just some significant events, process we went through to develop the budget, a summary of the budget, some mandated, the key mandated expenditures, other material expenditures, quick run through the capital plan, the engineering consultant highlights, some financial variances, and charts. We spoke in very great detail to this Hudson River area apportionment and litigation status. I will not go over it again, but at some point there will be Hudson River area portion approved, and upon that approval, the Hudson River area assessments will then be set, and then we'll be able to issue those assessments. We went over a district-wide staffing plan where we've decided to go with 3 additional folks in SFO and an additional general board if funding is there to support that. There was a development of the consultant, engineering consultant capital expenditure plan by Watershed. The chief engineer led that effort. We also made a determination of those external non-assessment revenue sources, which is primarily our hydropower agreements in both watersheds. Again, there will be, we believe, 10F costs being covered by the hydros once that headwaters benefit charges have is finally determined. There's interest, very little, because we have no reserves, and there is any sale of surplus is an item. The process started back in November 2011. We had a strategic planning session. We talked about the budget development schedule, structure of the budget, the preliminary capital plan. The board approved the development schedule back in December the following month. That established a formal process going forward. Next step is the staff looked at what their needs were for the next 3-year cycle, all of that around our need to accomplish the mission. Big part of that being staffing and the capital purchases. We did develop our structure maintenance plan, we refined it, and then I produced the first draft back in February. Senior staff met with the Finance Committee in February to review that first draft. We discussed the components of that. Again, the capital plan, staffing, non-assessment income. I then, at that time, produced a revised draft in March. And basically, the only thing we did from a material standpoint is we shifted some Black River area construction projects to the next cycle, next 3-year cycle, and we did have an updated pension cost information by the New York State Retirement System, reflecting the 2013 estimates that I put in there, and it did raise them quite a bit. That revised draft was submitted to the Finance Committee in March. Senior staff met again with the Finance Committee in April to go over that revised draft, which then led to the final draft budget in May. Board Finance Committee conducted workshops back in May and today, this morning. Committee reviewed and approved the draft plan, and I'm here presenting it to you. The district budget is $15 million, 11.5 on the Hudson, 3.5 in the Black. Total non-assessment revenue is $5.1 million, again, largely the hydro agreements, 4.9, 220,000 respectively, Hudson Black. Total district assessment is $15 million. I have an asterisk there for the Hudson and the total because it does not reflect an amount chargeable to the state. So the Hudson River area assessment has not been set. Black River area has been. Key mandated, the big ones, retirement costs. We got $881,000. Health insurance, $2.5 million, showing the percent of the total budget, 16.7. These numbers are 3-year numbers. The property liability, workers' comp, all the insurances, $743K. Taxes, 52% of the total budget on the Hudson River area side, 68% of the Hudson River area budget, $7.8 million. Again, those are 3-year numbers. Black River area, $134K. Other material, the capital structure and repairs, $1.5 million. Replacement vehicles, $225,000. Again, all these are all 3-year numbers. Engineering consultant, it's breakdown design and studies. We just passed the Usgs gauge services again. Actually, that's the right number. I updated that. Office rent, erosion control, all 3-year numbers. Capital plan, these are some specifics in Hudson River area, county-realized sluice remediation, warning sirens, and the Black River 6-lake piezometer project, all forged concrete repair. On the consulting side, highlights Hudson River area continental geotech investigation, reaching out with this. Stillwater Dam breach analysis in the Black River area, Hawkinsville remediation. 3-year variances, total expenses for the budget, total district down 20%, general boards down 8%, Hudson River down 28%. We spoke extensively about the Black River area expenses, up 36.5%. Again, would have been fairly flat if not for having no reserve to mitigate that increase. And capital structure maintenance projects down 68.9%. So it's down. Expenses by area, this is just, we just talked about it, it just illustrates it pictorially. Non-assessment revenue again, the Hudson River area being has the biggest share of that. Annual assessments, those are, again, the Hudson River area, does not reflect chargeable to the state. Salaries, in the Hudson River area, 2.7 million in last 3-year budget, this year 1.3, down 50%. And this is the engineering consultant cost, up modestly in the Hudson, up dramatically in the Black.
What put it up so high in the black? To Hawkinsville?
Hawkinsville, I mean, Rock probably going to be
Engineering assessments.
Yeah.
engineering assessments.
Okay.
And that is my presentation.
Okay.
Very good.
Nice.
The only thing I'd like to correct is we're not adding 3 employees, we're recalling 3, right?
Correct, I'm sorry, yes.
Well,
I think of it more from a funding standpoint, but right, so in the budget, right
We're
now,
proposing that we recall
we've held
3 employees.
back and did what we did because of funding.
We'll attempt to recall them if they're still willing to come back.
Right.
And if the agreement's.
Recall, replace.
Very good.
So
Thanks.
before the board,
Thanks, Rick.
back to the resolution.
Okay. Where were we?
We were going to discuss the resolution to approve the 3-year budget.
Okay. For the entire regulating district.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So up out of committee. I'm going to need any other questions about or comments on the presentation? Okay, so we need a resolution to approve the budget for the HRBRRD for the period of July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2015, along with a 4th-year proposed financial plan for the period of July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016.
Correct.
All right, so I need a motion to approve that, and don't ask me to read it again.
They make that motion.
You have any questions? All right, I have a
Mr. Hayes?
motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Stover?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right.
Next.
And the assessment for the Black River, right?
Correct. For the first year, July 1, 2012
Right.
through June 30, 2013.
So I have a resolution to approve the annual assessment for the operation and maintenance of storage reservoirs in the Black River area for the first year of a 3-year budget cycle period, beginning July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2013.
Correct.
Any discussions or questions on that? All right, so I need a motion to
Yeah,
approve the Black River? All right, I have a motion from Mr. Hayes.
Mr. Hayes?
Second?
I'll second.
All right, Mark
Mr.
start.
Finkel?
All right, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
The detail of the assessment is on the back on page 78 for the Black River.
Okay. Did see that on September. All right, so, I guess general counsel's report now.
Thank you. I would note that the resolution to adopt the Hudson River area apportionment has basically been tabled at this point.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
My report is on page 106. On May 10th, as you, I think, are all aware, the Appellate Division 3rd Department rendered a decision with regard to our apportionment methodology. That methodology had been challenged by 5 counties, Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, Warren, and Washington County, upheld at the Supreme Court level, and the Appellate Division basically told us that we needed to carve out a state share. I think we've talked about that extensively in this meeting to date.
Right.
Any questions on that before I go forward? You guys are all comfortable with what happened
Yeah, go
and
for
where
it.
we're headed as a result of it. We also continue to work with our special counsel, Justin Driscoll, who replaced David Shervin with regard to the NIMO Federal Court Permit System Assessment Challenge. We now have a little bit better understanding when the attorneys want to get discovery out of the way and get to trial. However, that is still not imminent. It's been pushed off quite a ways. The Attorney General's office has agreed that they will appeal and have served a notice of appeal with regard to the Albany Engineering decision issued by Judge Teresi, wherein Albany Engineering was granted summary judgment, awarding them a little bit over $500,000 plus interest. So we have heard back from the AG on that case, and they are moving forward. We did get the revisions to the Workplace Violence Prevention Program. Thank you, Carol, for getting that done. So we're all set with regard to that program. We have been sued, again, twice, by Hamilton County and by Fulton County, seeking recoupment of taxes which we are unable to pay. We have forwarded to the Attorney General a request for representation in that case. As this only happened late last week and the request went in late last week, we haven't heard back from them yet. However, I don't really anticipate any problem with that. In both cases, both counties have asked for the taxes be paid plus interest and penalties. I think that is due more to the fact that they're using as a template the exact same case that they filed last year, notwithstanding that the Supreme Court last year found in our favor with regard to the interest and the penalties issue. They also sued New York State, notwithstanding the court found that the state wasn't liable for last year's taxes. We anticipate they won't be liable for this year's either. However, a slight twist on that is that now the appellate division has issued a decision that the state may be liable for a portion of our apportionment, as those expenses include taxes. Who knows what the court is going to decide. In the interest of time, that's where I'll end my report, unless anybody has any questions.
No, I have nothing at the moment.
Thank you.
I remember seeing a letter from one of the other hydropowers. Is there any significance to that?
Boralex sent us a demand letter requesting a refund of the amounts that they had paid under their assessments dating back before 2008. It is essentially the same case that Albany Engineering brought against us.
Does that have any legs, or was it just an attempt to?
Well, it was an attempt to settle. They're owed
They put a discount.
an amount, and they put a small discount in, which we would probably entertain if we had the money to entertain it. But since we don't, we really just haven't responded.
I don't see where we need to just yet.
But we'll vigorously defend that suit should
Okay.
they elect to.
All right, so that was just a letter?
Yeah, just a demand letter.
Okay, thanks.
The first shot across the bow before they filed
Got
the
it.
suit.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? All righty, thanks. Mr. Leslie. Okay. All right, well, Mr. Ferrara, I guess you can continue on.
Yeah, I'll be brief. We discussed the budget, but my report is on page 107, ends on 146. It's a couple highlights. Cash flow report reflecting fund balances through June 30th, 2013 are included in my report and are fairly accurate based on some of the forecasting I do through that period, June 30th. On the reporting side, we just got our official MWBE report card, as it were, reflecting all of our activities with regard to that program using the state fiscal year, which ended March 31st, 2012. We have the two separate goals of minority 10% and women-owned 10%. I believe one of the, and I think I may have these mixed up, but I believe the minority one was less than 1%. Again, a lot of this driven by the fact that we have not been able to do any project work. So
Right.
I've got to put this in the right context. And I believe because we did do the server project, which got included, which was a woman-owned company, I believe that got our 10% there goal. I think we were at like 3.7%. So I'm sure they were pleased to see a jump there. But again, we're somewhat restricted by our inability to spend money that we don't have. So hopefully upon our funding being put back in place, we'll do much better. And unless the board has any questions, that's my abbreviated report.
Okay.
No, I didn't see anything.
And just, let me just say, I keep forgetting, because we don't do board expenses often, on page 146, we do have board expenses for, I believe, going back for different periods leading up to this meeting, and there is a
Yes, there is.
resolution to, and we need a motion to have the board approve those expenses reflected on page 146. So I would.
Okay. So I need a motion to approve the monthly expenses for Mr. Estefan to an amount of $294.61. Any questions?
So moved.
All right,
Mr. Hayes?
Motion, Mr. Hayes. I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Finkel?
Mr. Finkel.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. Chief Engineer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report begins on page 147. I think I'll just direct your attention, I guess, to my report, page 7, on the graphs themselves, which speak for themselves in terms of reservoir operation
Nice
at the
job.
end of the month and beginning of June, and we are at target in some cases, and certainly now, by this point in June, we're bringing the reservoirs down just as quickly as we get to that target. At the end of May, we begin the drawdown at just about all of them, and are in that process. Things are running pretty smoothly. We had a little bit of rain, and I do have one typographic correction I need to just draw your attention to in case anybody was looking at the map. The table for precipitation for the Hudson River area. Monthly totals and historic for Indian, Northville, and Conklinville respectively should be 295, 4.1, 492. The historic average 3.79, 3.85, and 3.44. But the percentages are correct that are shown up above. We had upwards of 140% of historic average rain at Conklinville. And that certainly helped polish us off, so to speak, in the Hudson River area, and in the Black River area we had a little bit less than 100% at two of our sites, 73% at Stillwater, but in the Fulton chain we had 91 and 98% at Old Forge and Six Lake respectively. And, of course, as I said, the graphs speak for themselves in terms of making it through a otherwise fairly dry first 3/4 of the spring and then refilling. So the only other thing I have, just it included at the end of my section, was a memorandum addressing, discussing the development of a dam safety program, which the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission has requested. For the most part, I would say we've got all the pieces already completed. I made reference in the memo to our manual for operation of reservoirs, as well as a manual we've had since I've been with the district now for 13 years on dam safety inspections. Both pretty thorough with regard to procedures, requirements, expectations of the staff, day-to-day tasks for safety, inspections, daily observations, and then also for the operation of the reservoirs. But I think the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is clearly, as I noted here, has expressed an expectation that all levels of management for an entity that owns and operates dams should be aware of not only their employees, but their own responsibilities, whether it be just through policy making or some other direct involvement. But we'll be putting together the program and referencing some of the items that we already have, the elements that we have already completed, and bring that back for your review and hopefully acceptance in the next board meeting, so that we could submit that to FERC to satisfy that requirement. That concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
What? Just curiosity, looking at the graphs.
Yeah.
Stillwater, Second Dog, and Indian Lake are all drawn down slowly through over the summer.
They will be.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sixth Lake and the Fulton Chain here remain at a constant level.
That's right. You notice the curve flattens out
Yeah.
once we refill, and the Fulton Chain, both Sixth Lake, Seventh Lake, and then Fifth through First, are operated significantly different than we would otherwise operate
I didn't realize.
river regulating reservoirs, in that we provide a constant elevation, have historically,
Okay.
the regulating district has. And I think primarily that's in recognition of the recreational benefit that they receive. How and
Okay.
why, I'm not sure I have any record on that, but it has been done that way historically, and we continue that.
So we're upholding tradition, but
We don't we don't begin to release the water for augmentation until about the second week in October, and it coincides with the one of the whitewater rafting festivals
Yeah.
that they hold, and they look for a lot of water. And historically, we had drawn down beginning in September. But again, since I've been chief engineer of the district, I've decided it was probably more prudent to hold on to that water and give them all, and if not all, at least
well, I know they drain down quickly.
significant portion of it, and otherwise we would pull the reservoirs down more quickly than we would want to and have to work on storing water. So we hold that until they need it for the whitewater rafting, and that kind of kicks off our drawdown for the fall and winter period. So, but it is clearly graphically, it's easy to see the difference between the operations.
Right. Okay, thanks. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you. Let's go to the Hudson River Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll also be brief. My report starts on page 149. And most of my time lately has been spent handling complaints and encroachment issues around the lake, which seem to be piling up quickly as people filter back in for the summer. I've also been out helping the senior field assistant with staking out our new permit areas that have changed hands, and also helping out staff with lawn maintenance at SFO and Tahoe. So we're busy with everything, trying to maintain and plugging along, and the extra person will definitely help me in my quest.
Well, good.
That's all I have. I'll take any questions.
No, I don't have any right now. After going down and walking a few lines the last meeting, I can understand where some of the disputes come from.
Exactly.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, let's go to the Black River.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report starts in my pagination on 154. I don't think we have the same numbers in our system, because I couldn't
No, it
find
was-
the numbering. It's like you're going to find me very close to
One-
the end.
198.
198.
Thank you. Things within the Black River area are running along rather smoothly. Our daily operations and maintenance are pretty much the same. We have begun our summer maintenance in our dike areas and liming and fertilizing, mowing. Log booms have been put in Sixth Lake and Old Forge for the season. And our move in Watertown is complete.
Okay.
We're very comfortable. It will be a work in progress for a little while. I think there's a lot of reorganization of files that the girls have found very beneficial for them at this time. So recently, our data communications all got resolved and our phones, and I'm happy to report everything is moving smoothly. I think everyone's very pleased with the move, so,
Great.
yes, it is good.
It looked a lot nicer.
Yeah. Myriad of reasons. Thank you. That's really all I have to report on.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you. All right. So, any other questions or comments from the board? All right, I have a resolution for the next board meeting on July 10th at the Mayfield Municipal Complex, Mayfield, New York.
So moved.
Mr. Hayes.
All right, need a second? Mr. Stover?
Mr. Stover.
All right. All in favor of the Mayfield meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion for adjournment?
Aye.
Mr. Hayes, have a second? Mr. Stover? Mr. Finkel, I don't care. Flip a coin.
Mr. Finkel.
Mr. Finkel.
Yes.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you.